everyone. Welcome to the Middlesex Selectboard meeting for Tuesday, June 3rd.
Where are they?
I don't know, but they're recording.
Okay.
Sometimes they just don't have the staff, is my guess. Okay, just looking for my glasses, but that's okay. Maybe they're on my head. I don't know. Okay. So we're gonna call to order and welcome our guests. I understand that the weather's very nice and so fewer guests are here. I understand that. I too would be outside enjoying this weather. But for those of you who have joined, thank you. So we're going to approve the minutes of May 20th, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion for that?
I'd move to approve the minutes.
Alrighty, and is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so Zara moves and Larry seconds the approval of the May 20th, 2025 meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Then we don't need to approve this, but we do need to sign the May 6th minutes. We've already approved them, but we forgot to sign them, so they're both here, okay? There's May 6th and there's May 20th. Make sure we sign those. So is there a motion to approve the agenda for June 30th? And are there any amendments to the agenda?
I would like to make an amendment. I am not prepared to circulate or propose a final.
Okay.
Purchasing policy.
Do we just want to skip over that tonight anyway?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we'll just skip over that. That's fine. I did want to just add and this could be just under other business, but just reviewing the status of the hearing next week. Not next week, next.
17th.
Yeah, the 17th. And the notice that I think you put out and the outreach that we need to do before that. So I would like to talk about that. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to
With said changes?
with said changes.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, so Larry approves the agenda with the additions and subtractions. And Zara seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so I'll get a pen at the end of the night. No. Okay, so the first thing that we're up for is the highway report and the FEMA roadwork update. So this is like Groundhog Day. We always talk about roads and FEMA, okay?
Like talking to me.
And then we're gonna do the continued update on what's happening with Old Brook Road, how the dirt tech box culvert replacements are coming, and a few other things. So do you want to start?
Sure. So as far as the
Okay.
roads are concerned, we've just been grading. Actually, they started working on Dolan Road today. That should only take probably about a week or so. We're looking into trying to get FEMA to cover the two slides on Brook Road. The ones that are now showing up like they are Old Brook Road,
Where?
Where, yeah.
on Brook Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they look pretty intact.
So 172, in front of 172, there's an area where it's starting to drop. And then the next place down, I don't remember the number. Where they did some repairs before, but it's probably dropped, I don't know, 4 feet, 3-4 feet.
So it's the rocks that are holding up the sides that have dropped down.
Yeah.
So that's not a good sign.
It's what's happened, is it's got undermined and then it just, the weight can't stay there anymore and it just drops down.
Is it culvert related or this is just slide up? Like, this is just like.
This is really related from the last storm.
So
In
it's the,
24.
it's the side of the road that goes right down to the brook where the big boulders are built up to hold the road in
Yeah, and
place.
those are just like, so,
Sliding down.
I mean,
Yeah.
Brook Road's already kind of narrow as it is. So I guess I can see the slide outs being a big problem for like through traffic. We're just two cars passing each other. Okay, gotcha.
Can I just interrupt and say
Absolutely.
that I did not introduce Carol Maloney? I meant to do that. She has offered to be our minute taker. So like, I don't know, I guess we could call her the select board assistant, but I'm not sure if if she's deciding like after tonight, like I'm gonna do this, or. I said just come.
Just come.
So everybody be really
I
nice
was
to
gonna
Carol
say,
when
don't
he
have
comes
you
back.
Just come and see if you like this bunch of fun people and that you love being like inside this building on a beautiful sunny day. Yeah, and,
That's my job.
right, so when you're speaking, be clear, speak slowly and spell things for Carol.
Thank you.
That's if it's necessary, okay? So I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Carol. So,
It's all good.
okay, good.
So as far as that's concerned, that's where we're at. Old Brook Road, I'm still waiting on an engineer. I know they've been out and surveyed it.
Okay.
So that's still waiting in progress. The permit process for the box culverts, the engineer has gotten back and emailed all the information to them on Friday. I emailed ANR today to confirm that it's received and to see what our next steps were. I have not received an email. I will follow up again tomorrow.
So they have to wait for these permits before they can put them in or something? But they've done a lot of prep work.
But they can't actually do the work in the
Yeah.
stream until they have.
I see, it's the stream. Gotcha.
So the permits for like, what, like environmental permit?
Yes, so they have the permission to be in the waterway.
And this is for 4720.
The old flood, yeah.
Culverts.
4720 is the flood name of the 2023 flood. And
4810
4810 is
for
the 24 flood. That's all right, I
I
mean,
have to write it a lot on my own FEMA forms.
oh, right, yeah.
Wait, that's state department?
ANR.
That's cause like the box culvert is like a big,
It's because they're working in perennial stream. And because it's a perennial stream, you need to have a permit to work in there because it's a stream operation permit.
okay.
Are all box culverts in perennial streams? Because, and do all
Because-
perennial streams require box culverts?
Not necessary.
Okay,
It really what determines the size of the box culvert is the amount of area of water it drains from to where that.
gotcha, okay, all right.
And as we know, perennial means.
Perennial means we're gonna put a lot of flowers up around around the town, what is it called, the gazebo?
Yeah, no joke, but those are streams that are always working versus all the little streams that become active in the rain.
Right,
Yeah, usually only, or it's during snow melt and rain events.
So Tech has been like doing everything but the actual box culvert.
Yeah, they're
is,
running out
like-
of things to do.
Cause I see them like sort of.
They've
around
actually been
town.
working for other people in town.
yeah,
Okay. So they're keeping busy waiting for this permit, stream alteration permit or permits?
Permits.
Permit,
Multiple,
And we may have another project down busy in the meantime.
yes. I would like to, have them continue working on Notch Road on the upper part since they're already there. Just like we did on Center Road and Brook Road last year. They're already in the area working, they already have all their equipment there. And I would keep them here to get the permits.
one more question.
Sure.
So the box culverts, like I've sort of been nodding along, but I really have no idea what you guys are talking about.
This is time to learn. We can help you.
There's something already there?
Yep.
Right? What is what's there temporary, damaged?
What is
Functional?
there is been damaged previous
Mm-hmm.
in the floods, so that's why FEMA is footing the bill.
Okay.
Or at least the majority of the bill to replace that. In order to get the proper sizing of that, we had to do a hydraulic study, which the state does, it says, okay, this much water is going through there. This is the size of a structure you need, X, Y, and Z. They say this is what you need, so then we get that built, and then you say what it is.
Is it the concrete box?
Yes, that's what
Actually-
a concrete box culvert is what it is. Right now, it's a metal culvert, but it's.
Okay,
Yeah,
so this would be like an upgrade, it's gonna
Oh,
increase
yeah,
the.
doesn't the metal
capacity
culvert go
and-
into the concrete or
No.
not? It's just
No.
water going through concrete? a hole.
Correct, so what,
Okay.
how they're built is they're built in sections. You've got a bottom section and a top section, and then so long sections. And they put them down, and then they put them, the body of the concrete box below the grade of the brook. Then they put rock in the bottom,
Gotcha.
and then they put the tops on, and then they seal all the joints.
And there's sides though, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is it allows aquatic life to go through.
Aquatic life.
Fishies can swim through there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so there's a big to-do, a lot goes into,
Does it involve digging up the whole road, like, or they
Yes.
don't, it's not like they're like ferreting under, they're
So-
actually like cutting a seam and then,
yeah, so they're digging the road right out,
yep,
and then they're gonna pump the water from one side of the road to the other,
oh,
because water's constantly flowing.
yeah. I was
And they
like,
can't be
have to
working
reroute
the
it.
water, so they're gonna have to dam it up, run a pump water right there, until they're done with it. Yes,
Hence the Department of Environmental People wants a lot of input on
Yep.
what they're doing. Okay,
And then we are also still waiting for the hydraulic studies for the 4810.
we've got one back.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just last week.
And, with those, FEMA they've designated those projects as A&E, which allows them to pay for design build with an engineer. They cover that cost out.
Category A, so you mean we say
No.
A and E?
No, it's just, it's their
Architecture
action,
and engineering.
Oh, architecture and engineering, okay.
and that is covered at 100%, but that will alleviate all this permit processing and stuff, and actually, the design builds, the engineer puts them out to bid and you own it.
And we'll have the money before.
Puts them out to bid to construction people,
Yes.
and we don't have to do that?
Correct.
Why?
The engineer will do that because it's a design build. So they handle all of that.
Even the rest of the roads that don't require culvert?
No, it's just what's
the
getting
A&E
a design
ones.
build. So just the box culvert.
Okay, so, but we still will need to get some road work done on 4810 that we're gonna put out to bid.
There's a little bit, and some of it I think we can do ourselves.
Yeah,
And then there's some that's requires paving that will have.
so you don't see like a big, like, let's hire a company like Dirt Tech again to come in to do 4810
Well,
work.
other than the box culverts.
Right, but
those are-
we're not doing that bidding, gotcha, okay. And, the paving is like a different type of company,
Yes,
yeah, gotcha, okay. Well, that sounds like progress,
I think we are making very good progress.
Actually, yeah, they're kind of speeding right along, even though our PDMG was out, for a week and it's gonna be out.
PDMG stands for
Program director.
manager or
PDMG.
something.
Yeah,
Project director, manager.
It's their FEMA contact, you can call them the FEMA contact.
Yeah, there's still somebody. PDMG.
Right,
FEMA's full of acronyms.
yeah. Yeah, don't be shy, Carol, about saying, what is that acronym?
Yeah.
Because we won't know,
And I do every time I meet with FEMA.
yeah. We'll say, I don't know, Carol, Google it.
But no, where we're at is everything is in except for one project and signed off on. So there's work for 4 roads, 1 project left. That should be in this week. And
Okay.
FEMA's rolling out in July, so we're doing all of our meetings on Teams, but they seem to be moving quickly. As a matter of fact, we've got our first road, that has been obligated, which is Macy, which we did almost $200,000 worth of work, on for one of 2 culverts. Another of the second culvert is a citywide thing, but they're sending us another 190,000 on top of that for the work that needs to be completed on Macy.
So 200 plus an additional 190.
So we're at that's 390.
And us as a town will do the work on there.
The towns can do the work. Okay,
Yeah.
Larry?
Just a question on terminology, I can assume it, but I wanna make sure, what is obligated? When you say
Obligated is when it's gone through the 8 levels of hell. And then they, FEMA says, okay, you can have their money, and they obligate it to the state, and then the state adds their little portion and sends to Cheryl, and Cheryl goes through it and then signs off, and then it comes.
But the state still has to draw down after the obligation, or does the state already have the money
State has the money and they wait to give it to us after we
after?
jump through.
It's
through all the
obligated.
hoops.
Okay, after it's obligated, okay, so the state's sitting on a lot of money right now.
Yep.
Waiting for FEMA to obligate things, yeah,
Yep.
okay. So, how is the money that's going, that was obligated and we needed to double check on the invoices from Dirt Tech and all that?
They actually agreed for us to amend that report, so we're gonna amend it to $75,000.
Okay,
And that all today, I got an email, I've seen it or not, but
Yeah.
I can go ahead and sign off on that, and then after that, it's gonna be amending it moving forward for the 75,000, so then I can go 12, 13, hopefully cruise through the rest of them.
So it was a clerical error that the state did, right, where they double dipped on their 10%?
No, that's what we thought, but apparently they're only allowed, because some of the work was uncompleted, they're only allowed to give us 90% of the 90%.
I wasn't sure, we got that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's a-
I wasn't
What?
quite sure when I read that too. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what that means, but.
Yeah, so, and they sent a little narrative, and that's exactly the way it explains it, 90%. Because remember, I kept saying, that's not 90%.
Right.
Of what we gave them, it's 90% of their 90%, and that was exactly what it was. It was intentional, is what they said.
okay, so, does it have to be re-obligated or no? Okay, it's just an amendment to this money that's already been obligated and then we'll be able to
Draw it into. our
And that'll be
budget.
another report that comes way down the road, because they're amending it, it won't be like, we don't get money for report number 12. We're gonna get our money for 12, but it's gonna be short that $75,000. Then we can go ahead and move forward to number 13, 14, keep moving forward like that.
And then at the end, what they'll do is they'll amend whatever we're short.
So just like the last time this week, remember in the first 4720 mistake that we caught, it was 71,000, that has now been re-obligated to us, so that money is also on its way to us to complete that 4720 project.
Oh my gosh, I can't thank everyone enough for this.
It's-
It's so stressful.
There's a lot to follow.
Yeah,
And
Sure.
I will say our new 4720 PDMG, a completely different person, we did talk to him this week, and that project that they have been supposed to cost out for however many months, and even since he's taken this on, has been like, I don't know why they didn't do this. Admitted us to us again that they still haven't moved it forward, so he was gonna sit on them again.
okay. Carol has a clarifying question.
Well, there's a lot of
There's a
information in
lot.
that conversation,
Yeah.
and how much do you need for posterity?
Not-
for
not-
and/or-
Not much.
Highlights,
Yeah, highlights, I would
all
say,
recorded.
yeah, and I would say the highlights would be, that, the money,
I would just say FEMA,
Yeah.
FEMA money is moving forward.
Yeah,
for
FEMA money,
4810,
yes.
4810, 4720,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. and that some of the work is gonna be done by the crew, the road crew.
I think
so,
that, we can handle that just fine.
yeah. So the nice thing is that we get reimbursed from FEMA by the work that we're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our hourly rate is also covered.
It's actually higher than your hourly rate is covered with that.
Yeah, that's
So they
great.
do some figures of.
So we may actually be able to get our reserve funds back. We're
Well,
lucky.
We're listening.
No,
we're
look at
pushing-
Cheryl,
pushing
she's
everything.
absolutely,
let's just not go that.
okay. I know, I'm like the girl with the eggs in her basket. Yes, Stacy.
So I like, and this might be helpful for you, Carol, the way I've been framing it is like, we have our 2023 flooding update. So right now, I've got like Dirt Tech is still waiting on stream alteration permits. The box culverts are on Notch Road and
South Bear, Center Road.
South Bear and Center Road.
There's 2 of them on Center Road, so there's actually 4 of them.
Wow. Shoot. Okay, and there's been no changes though in what's been obligated for 4720, right?
No changes, except for the $71,000 that we were missing from.
A different project prior. I don't remember. the project.
The 71,000 from Wood Macy Bulldog project.
Was paid, has been obligated to us.
Yep.
Yeah, it was short in the first payment that they gave to us, so they had to.
Okay.
Has it been paid or has it been obligated but not received?
Obligated but not received.
Okay, so that number is gonna be a little bit bigger in the total outstanding though will be the same, because we haven't gotten.
And the
any
number
new
will be a
money.
little bit lower, because we're gonna get 10% of that 71K, so it's like 65.
Yeah, like Carol, you don't need to put that in the notes.
Right, it's like the 7.5.
Yeah, you don't need to go, yeah.
3% of 10% of 7.5%. It's ridiculous. Okay, and then for the 4810, so it sounds like that we now have 390,491, 390,000. That number,
Mm-hmm,
obligated but not received.
correct.
But so the total received to date under 4810 though is still 0. And do you know what the total project amount is for 4810, like the current?
I don't, because it keeps
Ballpark.
changing. We, with
Best
every
guess.
H&H study, it's over $4 million.
Okay.
Yeah,
That,
because a lot of it we don't have costed out because of, the bigger culverts.
Right, we just got the H&H studies last week, so the engineers have to cost things out, do
Right.
RFPs.
that's that was what I hadn't captured yet.
Yeah.
So the hydraulic studies have been received, which now means you guys can price out the box culverts and other road. Is it just box culverts? Is that like the driving cost for most of these
Yes.
disbursements and
Yes,
things?
because those
Yeah.
are things that the crew can't
Sure.
do on their own, and that we
They're-
need.
And you have to
also
price it out, or this
permitting.
engineer's gonna do it?
No.
Yeah.
We want to price it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I think I am now content with my understanding.
And just to complete out, I did send you this lovely color-coded 5 pages. This is my notes of
I
where
saw
I'm at
that.
so far. Please enjoy them. At your leisure.
I like the color coding. All right, so is there anything for that update? I did wanna let everybody know, we got an email that, that they accepted the municipal roads general permit, that's MRGP, annual report.
Yep.
Annual fee and LOI, I don't know what that means. For category A funding to complete the road erosion inventory.
Letter of intent, probably.
Yeah, and the letter of intent, yeah, probably for category A funding to complete the REI road erosion. That's the
And
next.
they've already started the road.
Yeah,
erosion.
great, perfect.
I've seen Keith already in town doing that.
All right, perfect. Have they started working on the, oh,
No, not yet.
okay,
The culvert one?
yeah.
The municipal
Just like
grant.
the
No, as a
municipal
matter of fact,
grant.
Keith sent us something, and Cheryl's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And
And I
Sandy
think
gave me
Liz said, what are you
something.
talking about? Didn't you say, what are you, I don't know what you're talking about. Somebody else said. There
We'll
was like
get
3
it.
of us.
We'll get it at some point. Keith will explain it so one of us understands. I think I need to get
Yeah,
it
so
to
Central
Piers
Vermont
again.
Regional Planning Commission is gonna do the culvert inventory.
Yes, correct.
And we
That's
got a
correct.
grant for it, Carol, a municipal planning grant to do the culvert inventory, which, by the way, we do have a 10% match on that, but.
Which the planning commission is pitching in.
Oh, okay.
So
that's
it's
good.
13,000 something, with the planning commission, it's 14,000.
Okay, perfect, all right. But that work hasn't started yet. But that's also based on our, the fact that we, decided as a board to take over the culverts, everyone's culvert, right?
Driveway culvert.
Driveway,
As long as
Change
they're
the
in right of way
policy.
of the town.
Right, as long as they're in the right of way of the town. And then we're gonna inventory all of those, right?
That is part of it, yes.
And just so you know, right of way is about 3 feet from the road.
Yeah.
In.
Okay, so is there are there any other questions for our road foreman while we have him?
What?
Any other questions for the road?
Oh,
You'd like him to.
Or is there any other, information you'd like to share with us, Eric?
I don't have anything else on that.
Well, I'm curious,
Oh, yes,
Oh,
Wood Road,
Wood Road.
Wood Road Bridge tonight.
Oh, geez, yes. So, we are gonna, the fire department and I are gonna pressure wash Wood Road Bridge tonight so that we can patch the holes on the bridge tomorrow.
Wow,
I've grown to like those holes. I was starting to.
I can leave some for you.
Thank you, play golf.
So we need to get
I
Stacy
will
home
write your
before
name on
7.
them. That's Stacy's papa.
Okay, nice, good.
Yeah, and then concrete work tomorrow.
There's something I was gonna say very briefly, but now I
I'm
can't
so
remember.
sorry.
No, that's all right, I don't think it's that. Oh, no, it just was about the rain. Like, I mean, I felt like the roads it was only an inch of rain, but like, how are you feeling like when there's this hard rain? I mean,
So I will tell you, when we do get a lot of rain, there is an issue on Shady Rail on the paved section up. I don't remember, right by, well, below your house on PR2, was it PR2?
Yes.
From there down, the water jumps that culvert, the ditch and goes across the road. So I gotta look into trying to fix that.
Is that a, repair issue, like how it was repaired after the flood, or is this
I'm not sure. I think,
they have-
I think what needs to happen is we need to have bigger driveway covers there.
I see, okay.
Or there might be a rock blocking that place for sale beside me, and I don't know.
Well, it's actually
There
below that, that's really the issue.
Okay, lower than that,
It's right, like from PR2 down.
okay.
It's really, it just jumps the road and then it goes across into the garden across the road.
Yeah.
And then we got on Government Hill, which there's a culvert there that needs to be replaced too.
Have you seen the sailboat yet?
The sailboat? Oh, yes, I saw the sailboat.
And the culvert that, is
I didn't
above, the Zabriskie house, they were concerned, about that, that seems to be holding up
Yep.
well and everything,
Yep.
okay.
But that should all be part of the municipal study, it's not just for
Yes.
driveways, it's for all of our,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions for Eric before he goes and power washes the Wood Road Bridge and fills the holes?
And the whole filling will be tomorrow after they dry.
Okay, good. It's gonna be a hot day, so they'll be nice and toasty for you.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'll go
I'm
sprinkle some
looking
glitter
forward
in
to
them.
I like that idea.
No, I'll do half and half.
Okay, thank you.
It doesn't take long for that stuff to set up anyway.
Okay, we're right on target for our next item, which is just an update, from me on the possible funding for the, how we talked
good
about
evening.
last year, we did
You
some
too,
soul,
Art.
or last week, we did some soul searching, remember I told everyone I had to do some soul searching about how we might be, 20, 30, 50, 200 years from now, blamed or celebrated, for our decisions that we make about, the, about the brownfields in the buyouts for 138, 140, 168, and then 42 Cross Road. So I sent an email to the public comment for the CDBG DR, which is disaster recovery, disaster something. It's the money, the $65 million that's coming to the state of Vermont. Most of it is for, it's Community Development Block Grant. I think DR means like disaster or something, whatever. Most of that money, most of that $65 million is like for housing, so it's not like it's coming to our roads and things like that, but there's $5 million that's set aside for like other things that, to help out, and it's all only related to the 2023 flood, the 4720 flood. And so I told them about our conundrum and that we had no money, and they said, we have this budgeted in the action plan under housing, specifically for so it's not actually is under housing, specifically for buyout cleanups to cover the phase ones, and some cases it may mean even phase twos. Phase twos. We are in discussion with Vermont Emergency Management and Two Rivers at Ottaquiche Regional Commission to assist in the effort to support municipalities and homeowners. Thank you. So that's good news. It's just, we're not doing the buyouts tomorrow, but we're not gonna jump in and start hiring an engineer until we find out about this funding. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mhm.
And if someone were so desperate and they would like, I wanna do the buyout today, we would say, pay for your own, phase 1 and 2. Or you wait. I mean, that's what I would say. I don't know that I have the authority to say
Seems
that,
reasonable.
but that seems reasonable, yeah. And that was from the DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development Federal Programs Director. So,
So, I guess I'm trying to understand, was it, the town's not buying up these properties, correct?
well, FEMA has the money, the towns are buying them technically, they become our property, so we don't have money to actually buy these properties.
Right.
But a buyout gets, the way that it works is that the municipality now owns that property and FEMA pays for the demolition of the property, the removal of everything, and so all you then have is land that becomes town property. And so, we can't do anything, we can't develop that land. You could make it green space, you could do something like, oh, we're gonna have a kayak, drop in or something like that. You could even potentially maybe do a park, but we're not gonna do that, but that's sort of where that like brownfields worry came from. But I think it's also around, just the liability of, the fact that it is our municipal property. People could go down there and hang out, even though,
So I looked at the Brownfield handbook
yeah,
briefly, and I didn't get to read the whole thing, just. not
because
enough
it's
time.
so interesting and.
It is.
Yeah.
But I did find a section on liability exceptions for municipalities.
Oh, well, I would love to hear about it because I asked our lawyer, he didn't know, what does it say?
Well, I don't know what the law says. It talks about, and I'll give you this because it has all the different connections to the Vermont laws. But this talks more about what you're gonna do with the property afterwards.
Yeah.
So you won't be held responsible for any of that. So but if we're not gonna resell it or try to reuse it, and I don't know if a park or a drop-in for a thing
Yeah.
would qualify for that. But it seems like there are some exemptions for municipalities to cover us from liability if it turns out to be.
So what I would ask you to do is if you can email that to me and I'll take a look at it and then I can send it to our lawyer just to say like,
Yeah, it may not, it may qualify, it may not qualify.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's.
All right, that's good to know.
and they have
Thank you for
this-
looking that up.
Yeah, one's a voluntary acquisition and the other one is an exemption for involuntary acquisition. So there's a couple
I
different.
think this would be called a voluntary
Voluntary.
acquisition.
I feel like it would be an involuntary acquisition, because we wouldn't have acquired it had it not been for the flood.
Yeah, but we're agreeing to buy it. Like we are going into, like we could say, no, we don't want to do any buyouts. I don't know.
Yeah, we can, it's voluntary, there's like other towns that have declined to buy out certain properties and,
Like Barry's doing,
Barry,
not
yeah,
doing
Barry,
buyouts, they
'cause-
can't afford it.
they can't afford it, and like we, the board did receive correspondence from Sarah Merriman that talked about some of those like other factors for why the town may consider like rescinding its agreement or withdrawing its agreement to buy out certain properties. The funding for this brownfields testing may be among those. But also like the town becomes responsible for maintaining. Like I didn't realize that our like the mowing contract we just approved for the recreation committee, like why are we brush hogging vacant property? Why are we mowing vacant property? I don't quite know, but that's something that would become an added cost, and then also we're not getting any funds from the state, and also it diminishes our grand list value.
Right, there's a lot of reasons not to, but then there are reasons too, right? I mean, these people aren't living in their homes, right? And if they have an option to have a buyout and that money is there, I think, it is the right thing to do. But like the reason Barry can't do it is because people can still live there and they just are living in a flooded area and Barry simply can't afford to lose that. Like Barry would rather buy out those properties themselves, tear it down and build something flood resilient so that they can build their,
Oh yeah, because the permanent no development.
right, we can't do anything with this
It becomes
buyout. Barry doesn't want to lose
encumbered.
all that land,
Yeah.
so.
I
Yeah.
do think that Sarah, when she wrote us the letter, though, didn't realize that there was a third option, which was that we, like you said, just leave it.
There's that option, and there's also the option that if this money's available, why
Sure.
not do it,
If they want
right?
to pay for it,
Right.
absolutely.
Right, and so, so I think, anyway, we're not taking any action on this, but it's just an update.
Do they give you a time, like, is there, I didn't catch a timeline, I'm just wondering in terms of like,
Do we have a deadline?
do you have a sense of like when we will know one way or another whether there's
Money?
funds available for this brownfields testing? for
Yeah,
these-
I think it's gonna be a while. I mean, I would hope it would be this year, like I would hope it would be fall or or something like that. I don't know exactly when the 65 million, but right now, like they're closed for public comment on how to deal with this money, and they're basically
Okay.
building a plan of how they're gonna distribute this 65 million. So you can imagine that that doesn't happen very quickly, but there's probably a timeline on it that I don't know what it is. So, I think, and just in past, I think with CDBG funds, it's like 3 years or something like that, that you could have to sort of do your project, whatever it is your projects are that you're doing. I'd even be longer, but,
Let's hope they figure out whether or not they can pay us before we have to decide whether or not we wanna do it.
for sure, yeah. The owl is frozen, I don't know if, that means anything.
It means our tech is bad. If you wanna unplug it and plug it back in to the computer.
Here?
Yeah. And then just go down to, then go down to the video.
That little red line through the video.
Click on that. Oh, click on
And
those,
just
there you
undo
go.
it.
Nope, that's it. It's working.
There we go,
We're back.
we're back, okay. Let's see, what does this say? Oh, and also an update of the state town in the 12 property buyout process. Okay, so I've been attending some meetings every other week, just about where we are in the buyout processes for all 12 properties. I'm not gonna go into any details to give out like personal identifying information, but, there's a couple of people who aren't sure if they're even gonna do a buyout. There is still, so what some of the folks need to provide are where they spent their FEMA money, so that there's no duplication of benefits. And so basically, let's say the homeowner got $40,000 worth of FEMA money during the flood, right? They have to show that that money went toward something to help them recover from the flood. So maybe they put their new heating system in, maybe they did some, had to put on like some stuff on their roof because it was leaking or whatever from the flood. Clean out, muck out their basement, all that kind of stuff, right? So they got $40,000. Maybe they even got money for a hotel, right, to stay in. So as long as they can show that they spent the money on the house and anything that's used to just, make their house safe and livable, that money is, they don't have to like give that money back in their buyout, right? So let's say their house is $200,000 in the buyout, right? They'll get $200,000 if they can show that they spent that $40,000 on something else. If they can't show that they got that $40,000 on something else, and they can only show that they $20,000 worth of receipts, and then the other 20 they just, spent on other things because they had to live, right? And the money was there, they could buy a new car or whatever. They'll get $180,000 for their house. So they'll take off whatever they can't show because they'll otherwise say it's a duplication of benefits. If it's, money that they got that they didn't put toward the house. Does that make sense? Okay. So anyway, there's like 3 people who are having, are still trying to get their receipts to show what they spent their FEMA money on. And then there's people who most of the stuff has been supplied and they're just in the process of going through that. What I don't know, I haven't really looked closely at is who are the people that are like ready, but are these people, right? So I just haven't like connected the dots to see. But at my next meeting, I think I will. I think we have one this week. Not this week, but next week, probably. So anyway, I think that's going fine. Cheryl's providing the information she has. I've been, trying to reach out a little bit to some of the clients, just to see, like, you gotten your stuff in, that kind of stuff, but they're not really getting back, so it's fine. It's, it's the way, it's par for the course and it's going along the way that it is. But it's possible that there's a couple of those 12 properties that aren't gonna do the buyout, and so they'll continue to be a tax revenue for us, okay? Alrighty, so update on the cemetery commission, so Hannah Brown submitted her, her letter of resignation, citing, the amount of time, with her young family and her job and all of that, but I do want to just extend a heartfelt thank you to Hannah for the work that she did do, in her short tenure. She helped us get the mowing bid, and so the mowing is off to a good start. So what that now leaves is Gary Lamel as the sole cemetery commission member. Could we call him the cemetery commissioner? Perhaps we could, because he's the only person. So Gary is, doesn't make a quorum. So one person doesn't make a quorum. So if there's any decisions that need to be made, such as the bidding for the grave digging services, that will come through the select board. So Gary did drop off 2 bids, which we can discuss tonight because it's not on the agenda. But I thought actually we could discuss this at next meeting, and this could be effective in the fiscal year, the new fiscal year, July 1. And so there were 2, one from Bill May, who is currently doing the digging, and then one from Hill House Estates from Marshfield. Yes.
Can we also add to the next agenda, Randy Richardson, who's doing our mowing right now, is feeling like there's things growing through the fence and possibly some stones that are like in the woods a little bit. I was gonna ask Paul to take a look at that, to see if it's something we can do. He would like to do it.
Who's Paul?
Yes, I met Paul Sermonero. See, just have him take a look at Carr in the village
Oh, okay,
cemetery.
yeah.
Somebody else put eyes on what he's talking
Yeah.
about. I have told him we are budgeted what we're budgeted, and we don't have any
Yeah.
extra money for this year, but he really wants to do the work, so. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I did take a look. I went around to just the North Branch and the Carr, because those are near each other. The North Branch, is a big cemetery. I thought the mowing looked great, it was fine. The Carr Cemetery is smaller, and it's got a lot of old graves in it. And so you'll see some, there's grass that's like not mowed, and those are the stones that are buried down in the, in the graveyard, and so you can't mow over those, right? And you don't wanna take your big blade and start breaking the stones up, right? So my suggestion was that, maybe once or twice in the summer, he takes a weed whacker to it if he can, just to, get some of the grass around there. But otherwise, it's not an easy graveyard to mow, because it's, things are a little bit like,
And I did pass that along to
Filter.
him, and I believe he said he was mowing again this Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I just thought I'd get Paul out to see what he's talking about things in the woods or
Yeah.
vines growing into the fences or whatever else.
Yeah.
And is that something we can do?
And that could be something that we also talk about with the commission, because they do have some money in there, but is that only for North Branch?
Only for North Branch.
That's only for North Branch, so
And
I think
it's-
he's probably talking
I
about
think it's
Carr.
Carr and the village.
Yeah, I haven't seen the village one, I thought I'd actually go to the village one after work,
I'll
just to
come
check
over.
it out, you wanna come, yeah. And Larry, I would invite you, but we
I
can't.
guess I have the
quorum.
wrong footwear though, I don't know.
I do have a question or a
Yes.
point of, and maybe Stacy can emphasize on it. Is there something called the law of necessity? Where in this situation, that because there's no quorum and they're their own body, that he has a right to do that? Right to run the board and get new people on it? Does that sound familiar to you?
I mean,
I think he can get people.
I,
Yes, Steve
like,
Martin, Steve Martin said that.
I don't know, like, that's a good question for Rob, because and I was thinking about this, cause like, I have major, I have some issues with Hannah Brown's resignation. Like, one, you know, when I talked with her candidly, it sounds like it's not just about having a young kid, but also just the interactions with the other commissioners was a big reason why she resigned. It was not what she was looking to get into, and she wanted out. I mean, I find that really disappointing because we really need people, younger people, to step up, and I'm like, you know, and try and identify barriers to like municipal service, like how, you know, getting yelled at by other municipal service members is like really unfortunate, and like it didn't need to happen this way, and so this kind of makes me really upset because like it did happen, and the other thing though about, I guess, so there's 3 points. The second is that she said that apparently Gary has been yelling at the contractor and like following him around at the cemetery, telling him how he should be doing things. And that was another reason she said it to me about why she's resigning. She just doesn't want to, she already has been through the ringer and doesn't want to deal with this on an ongoing basis. So the third concern I have with accepting her resignation is simply that I honestly don't know if we can, because it puts the select board in like an operating capacity of the cemetery commission when the town, I don't think we're allowed to do that. Like when I was reading the statute on like how cemetery commission is established, basically once the select board creates the cemetery commission body, it becomes this like separate entity. To dissolve a commission or like to basically, you know, yeah, to do away with it, it must be put to the town. Like it becomes the voters, it is a body ruled and governed by the voters. And so my concern is like in her resigning before effectuating her replacement or the appointment, because only they can appoint commissioners. So now her resignation has created an impossible scenario. Gary cannot appoint anybody else without he is not a quorum. You need a quorum to appoint someone, I believe. And I could be, that's kind of where the hang up is. Like if
We check with a lawyer.
Yeah, if they need a quorum to appoint other members, then I don't know how we can accept Hannah's resignation until until the two of them at least agree on her replacement, so that the two of them, whoever replaces her and Gary, can then fill out the third commissioner. Otherwise, like this, what we have here is just really weird and technically not legal under it's not within the intent of the statutes. And so obviously there's the law, and then there's just like what we do, and they don't always align perfectly. And so I do think it'd be a good question to run by the lawyers, just like, can we accept this? If we, in accepting her resignation, you know, we're creating a cemetery commission. Like, can the cemetery commission basically appoint more people? Like, can it fill itself back out without a quorum? And if the answer is no, then can we, you know, can we, I mean, I know we've said, yes, Hannah, you can go, but like, are we actually allowed? Do we have the authority to create a body or to enable a body that then exists in violation of the laws under which that body was established?
I don't know. Well, no, and I take your point, and I will say that when, I think you're right, like me accepting her resignation is not really the right, like we're not the right body to accept her resignation. But I think just given, you know, that she was unable to communicate with anyone on the cemetery commission in any way that was like effective and timely, that she was, you know, reaching out to us. And it was very clear, you know, from the very beginning that like, well, we actually have no power over the cemetery commission. Like, we can't tell you what to do, but we can help you. Like, we're not gonna be bad people. And I think the mowing, honestly, was like, mowing is time sensitive, right? And it just was like, okay, you know, we're gonna do this, we're doing it you know, trying to do due diligence, trying to do what's best for the town, and knowing that this may not be exactly the rule, and we may be actually breaking the rule. but no harm is being done to any individual in that action. So I think you're right that we just need to run it by, I mean, it's like a catch-22, really, right? And so, you know, how do you resolve it unless you say to Hannah, can you step back in for this very short time period and until we can find something?
But that was my point too, this rule of law, this necessity rule allows for these situations where if this board had to, for some reason, the three of us had to recuse ourselves for ethical reasons on a decision, and you were left alone, okay, but that's not a quorum to pass that, right? So if you only had one or two. So this rule is necessity. We have to make a decision, and it allows the other board members to come in and make that decision. So I'm wondering if that applies in this situation where Gary gets to put on it, if he wants.
Yeah, he may
appoint-
have to because
To
there's
appoint two more people, or at least one more person.
Right.
And we literally can't force Hannah to stay on, right?
Right.
I mean, she's.
The only thing that could, I mean, I think the question is just like, we can't do anything, but is like, is she legally allowed to leave if doing so deprives the commission of a quorum? Like,
Yeah.
to the point that then the commission cannot take any further action.
Poor Hannah.
So it's not really like, it's not like us.
Hannah, get back here.
It-
We need you.
I mean, kind of, but it you know, like, there's
Yes.
this joke on the DRB, you're not allowed to resign until you've effectuated your own replacement.
Yeah.
And so I kind of think, like, you know, that's a sort of joke, but also not really, because,
Yeah.
like,
Work
and maybe,
needs to be done. It needs to be
maybe
done
there are
legally.
no such legal restraints. Maybe, like, my guess is that there's zero law and precedent for this, and he might have to do some research, but it would be helpful to know. And also, you know, in the same vein, like, it seems that we should really consider putting on the ballot for next year, expanding the commission to 5.
Yeah.
Which would, even if most of it's vacant, it would, you know.
3 is still a quorum though with 5.
Yeah, but we can't find people to fill.
We can't find.
That's
We
true.
can't find-
What the alternative is, honestly, is dissolving the cemetery commission. The select board takes this on and we hire someone to be the person who deals with the graves.
Oh, so we would dissolve it.
We could dissolve
We
it.
have to take it back.
We'd have to take it back, yep.
And then we would appoint a commissioner, like a secretary.
We would have to have someone, because right now, the hardest part is not the mowing, it's the graves. It's assigning, selling graves, it's,
Finding volunteers who want to
Finding-
be on the commission.
yeah, and it's, you know, arranging digging and burials. It's not like not an easy, like, we don't wanna take that on.
No.
No, we do,
We
no.
don't, but if we
So-
were able to take it back and then hire someone in that role,
Right.
that might work out a little better.
I'll find out a little bit about that, and I think there is something around, I mean, there is, the reason I said that is because what I would have been reading, you know, weeks ago about the cemetery commission. Yes, sir.
I'm just wondering if we can get in touch with the historical society and beg some of them to maybe, go be on the cemetery. I mean, I've asked Steve Martin, I asked Annette, I know we've
That
all
would be like
probably
Sarah
reached out to
Seidman,
people.
Patty Wiley, right, those are, I mean, they're all people who are also very retired.
Well, isn't that what
You know
most,
who might is Steve Martin's son-in-law, JR, that lives right beside Steve in that mobile home.
I want some goth people to
I
start
don't know him.
helping out.
He might, he runs the DFW.
I mean,
Reach out to him.
are there like
You know why?
teenagers? who-
Yeah, teenagers,
Like,
come on,
why-
people
why-
that like,
Can we,
Yeah.
like to hunt.
can we just like,
seriously, seances,
market it as
welcome, go
that,
for it, man, you're in
seances,
charge.
hunting.
With some feuds and some versions and,
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
you don't have, it's like, it's not rocket science. How old do you have to, I don't even know how old you have to be on the
Probably
ballot.
18.
Probably 18.
All right, so let's move on from the cemetery. And let's find what else we have.
You will email Rob
It is
about.
5:55, so the update from Larry Tripp, I
Can I
will
ask
say.
before we leave that one, if
Yes.
Stacy has a particularly meaningful pun to, last time I
I know,
mentioned
the
the
graves,
grave
graves,
issues.
yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone
got a new
laughed
one?
about that.
Got a new one?
Cemetery commission
No,
still,
I mean,
still
all-
DOA.
Why do they
A
install,
DNR?
why are there always
Yes.
fences around the graveyard?
Why?
Because people are dying to get in.
Oh, okay, yay. See, we are so much fun, aren't you so glad you joined us?
I would have such a boring evening.
Okay, so next on our agenda is my husband, who isn't here yet because he's at a birthday, mini golf session. And so I have a feeling that either one,
Push it to the
let me see if he's texted. Like, hey, I can't make it. Mini golfing. Yeah, it's over in Waterbury.
Waterbury, you mean headed
Well,
to Waitsfield?
We had
on
to
100.
Duxbury, right?
Cool. It's like a adventure park.
Waitsfield. No, it's like a little, I think it's on the road, that Red Hen used to be on.
Waterbury.
Yeah,
My
it's
kid loves
mini
mini
golf.
There is one in Stowe as well.
I think they're.
Tell me over about the Duxbury Country Store. where you
Yes,
can get that
yes.
stuff.
I think
Yep,
there's mini
Duxbury
golf
Country
there.
Store, there is, and there's
Yeah.
one in Stowe.
On 100.
I don't know of one in Waterbury. Blush Hill's Real Golf.
Yeah, no, this is just, mini golf. I don't know why I'm looking it up because it's not on the agenda to talk about mini golf.
No, but let's
um,
push Lori to.
Yeah, so we're gonna push
17.
him to later, and if he doesn't show up because there's no service, look at, we're frozen again.
I don't care, does it matter?
Well, I think it does because I think it's being recorded.
It's an unplugged thing.
I don't know if it affects the recording or not, but, okay, so if he shows up, he does, if doesn't, we'll just put it on a different, we'll put it on for next week. So 6:05, so we're a little early, but that's okay. So, we already talked about Cheryl and the drawdown on the allocated FEMA funds. Select board review of the budget to actual as we near the end of the fiscal year. So we got from, our friend Cheryl. I don't know, why didn't I give myself a copy? Well, no, I have one. Okay, I have one over here, here it is. Okay. So basically what we like to do is, look at your actual budget to actual, and like, look for some small ones and large ones, right? So we should be at like, it's 100% is through June, right? So 12 months, so we should be, basically 95% through the budget, right? And so if you see, something, it's just, this is for us to just be aware, of like, oh, look, we spent less on fuel than we thought, or we spent far more on gravel than we
Well, I
thought.
can kind of tell you a little bit, like, okay, say like select board workers' comp insurance, that's up higher. As you can see, the percentage is high, and that's because of, we have the FEMA wages now that weren't included in the budget when this budget was made.
Did you get one, Carol? You did, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, so 470%.
Yeah, so that's part of that. The select board FICA, that's up higher because of the FEMA. And then you go down to email and meeting expenses, that's actually Zooms, but it's also because we have more Zooms. We're doing the planning commission, the DRB, the cemetery commission.
So we need to, when we budget, we need to add more to the Zoom.
Which is too late because we just budgeted it.
Oh, right.
For the next budget, so.
Well, when we budget in.
Again, right.
Well,
Legal fees are higher, and that's because we had the dog issue, the bond vote thing that we were trying to figure out, and the Vermont Bond Bank added,
wait, I'm sorry, you're going too fast.
Where are you?
like on the first page.
Oh, okay,
So I'm just going down to the ones that look higher, that way high, that are like out of whack.
okay.
Yeah.
So the dog, so the legal fees is higher because of the dog issues that we had, the bond vote that we kept talking to Rob about. Vermont Bond Bank was $3,600 alone, doing the closing for those, so that's why that's higher. Tax abatements are those tax abatements that we did because of the flood. Elections expense is a little higher, and that's because there's some money that has to be billed out that I gotta get with Sarah Merriman about. The future grant match, that $2,358.50 is, the match for that brick grant that we got, but we did get that money. I filed that report, and they did give us the $7,000 on that brick grant.
We
so.
had budgeted.
Yep.
Okay.
So, so we were right there at that. The discretionary fund, there's a bill in there for, the bandstand.
Saw that.
We didn't take we didn't budget anything this year for the bandstand, so it was understood that would come out of, not this year, not for the
Oh,
2025.
not for this year, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that bandstand bill for Mad Tech is gonna have to come out of the discretionary fund, and I put a note on the side of that.
But I thought we didn't have a discretionary fund.
Yeah, it had $4,000 in it, but there's 2,400.
Where do you see that?
It's on the first page.
Oh, I
right
see,
here.
yep, gotcha, okay. I was thinking the reserve fund, never mind, okay.
Then if you go down to listers, that's a little higher, but we knew that was gonna be because they they had under budgeted and they've taken on more things. Auditing, that was higher this year. 16,000, and that was related to, again, FEMA and the flood.
So can some of these be written off in Z? Or
I'm
included?
hoping so, that we can.
Yeah.
The dog pound, 290 on the second page, public
So
safety.
Z you're talking about with FEMA?
Yeah, so Z, we're at for 4720, closing out, so that would be the, the fees for the banks that we've been paying on the loans, for my time, for Steve's time, for Cheryl's time, that she has to work for FEMA, for Eric's time that he's put in for FEMA.
So long and short, Carol, you could just say something like, some of this may be offset by FEMA reimbursements. Some of the overages may be offset by FEMA reimbursements.
And as you go down, you can see in admin and in general government, there's health insurance for both of those, and that just, the both of them together would equal the amount. That's just the difference with the way things played out with Sarah. So that's why that's a little different, a little higher. The copier lease, this year we had gotten a new copier, and that was more than what was budgeted originally in 2025. If you go down to public safety.
Wait, hold on. Can you tell me again the building maintenance, the 14,000? Oh, wait, we're not on page 2 yet?
Yeah, well, no, I'm on page 2.
Yeah, wait, what happened on the second one?
The
14,000?
fire department building maintenance, that was probably the heater, right, that blew up, right?
Where are you guys at?
Page
Oh, wait a
2, the
second.
second one down.
This
Fire
goes to
department.
page 1 to 3.
Oh.
Yep, that's where I'm at too.
Oh, you know what? These are not double-sided.
That's right, but we only got one
Wait,
side.
is yours not double sided?
No, we only got the
Just the odd. All right, so we had trouble with our thing, that's why.
Is this the new printer?
Yes, it is.
Do you wanna go make some copies?
I do, but I wrote notes on mine.
That's all right.
All right, we'll just listen.
Yeah, that was what I was helping, what Brenda was trying to help me figure out what was
I'm
happening.
like, she's like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Okay, so that would be great, and then I think, for next week, when we invite Mark in.
Yeah, then we can
Fun
go
with that.
through these, he'd love to see these numbers too.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna get more clarity on
Yeah,
what's up next and,
On there, I did those transfers today, so all those, everything that needed to happen for 2025 is gonna be in that account.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so this is what she was saying. She did, her,
126,000.
126,000, what is it on here? 331, 430, today's what, 6 something, okay, so, she transferred, so right now, these things here, Carol, do you have this, Carol?
Yes.
These are, we have things called these funds,
Yeah.
right, that carry over from year to year, and we
Capital-
budget, yeah, we
capital
budget
investment
things,
plan.
yeah, and so like we've always had a paving fund, right, and we've always, but we built up more funds, especially since we did a capital improvement plan and built a budget. We decided that we needed some, potentially some more funds. So one of our newer funds is like the asset and equipment fund below, on the bottom. Town garage is in a new fund, I don't remember that. Let's see, what else is there? The building fund, I think that was started out, not terribly long ago for this building here. And so in the budget, just before the end of the fiscal year, Cheryl is moving what we budgeted for these funds into these funds here. So you don't see it on here, but because she just did it today, but she moved 126,000 today from just our bank account that are required to be put into these funds. Here comes Lowry. And so you can add 126,000 to that figure there, and it will,
What is the Milford Leonard Fund?
oh, that's a little fund that is sort of managed by Sarah Seidman. It's a little discretionary fund. How much is in it?
9,300?
Yeah, for like kids that wanna go to camp.
Oh,
So like the horse, there's the, like, she used to do this horse camp.
Oh, that's
North
Peace-
Branch Nature Center camp
the Peace
sometimes.
Farm? No.
Yeah, Peace Farm,
Peace
yeah.
Farm, yeah.
So like, not many people know about it, but like, it'll provide like, you know, for maybe a kid who needs it,
Mhm.
a week's worth of camp. And sometimes it's coordinated through the school, but we haven't had a request in a long time.
How much did you say to add?
26 is what she said.
126,000?
What happened to Lowry? Oh, are you there, honey?
I'm here.
Sorry, I shouldn't call you honey, sorry.
You can call everybody honey.
Yeah, exactly.
I do, yeah. So, this is actually good timing because we started on looking at the next agenda, but then we realized that they were single-sided copies and they should have been double-sided, so we didn't have everything we needed. So, if you wanna give us a quick update, between golf holes, on, what's happening with the weatherization for the fire station and town hall, and the heating system update for the town hall, and anything that you can tell us about the website RFP.
Sure, and I'll have you know it's mini golf.
Yes.
So the fire station weatherization is happening next Saturday, the 15th, with the contractor. So we have volunteers, and we have the contractor who's gonna train the volunteers that morning, and we'll be renting a lift so that we can get the entire roof. And so this is gonna be an initial project of weatherizing manually everything that we can, and then the contractor will assess if there is still significant air leakage, in which case he would then apply an extra layer of material with a special machine. And so that would be, an extra cost, but this is part of what we had planned on. So we're really hoping that we can do a good enough job manually and not require that extra level. And so we'll be doing that all through the weekend of the 15th. And the fire station door gasket was already repaired by Overhead Door a month or two ago. That was torn. In terms of the town hall, the next step is in process of trying to get contractors in to provide quotes on a ventilation system which would mitigate the radon issue. We'd really like to do it in tandem with a new heating system because it is a forced hot air system, and so we could combine, one contractor could do both because it would be using the ducting in the town hall to provide the fresh air and the heat. So that's what we're working on right now, contacting contractors in the area. And I've talked in terms of weatherization, I've talked with your former colleague, Randy Drury, who is an independent weatherization expert, and he has agreed to lead a volunteer-driven effort in the fall to weatherize the attic and the perimeter of the foundation.
Nice.
Just quickly.
So that's where we are.
Okay, I just want to interrupt you for a second. Did we budget for a new heating system for the town hall? I can't remember.
You guys,
When I talked to you last time, we talked about some very preliminary figures. And I know that you approved, looking into things and spending. certain amounts of money, but I don't remember what it was for the heating
That's a
system.
question for Mark when he comes here.
You guys were talking about taking the money out of these funds to
Oh.
pay for the heat systems.
Okay.
That's right, okay, so we didn't actually budget new heating system line item. I don't
No,
think so.
because we were hoping we were gonna have a brand new building,
Oh, yeah, okay, so, all right, keep going.
right?
So that's it on weatherization and the
Okay.
buildings. In terms of the new website, Susan Clark is spearheading that for now. We're looking for another volunteer to help us out with that. But basically, we will resurrect the request for proposals from last year, send it out again, along with some new potential website host designers this month even, and see what comes back.
Was it Jimmy that wanted to be on
Yeah.
the select board? Did he ever get in touch with Lowry?
I don't know, did Jimmy get in touch with you, Jimmy Price?
That doesn't ring a bell, but I'll check my email again.
Yeah, we should reach out to him again because he does IT for the state and I had suggested that he help by volunteering us with our IT stuff if he wants to get involved in the, I suggested he be on the budget committee too, but he doesn't have to committee up, but we need help, so.
Yeah.
It'd be great if he could team up with Susan. I'm happy to pass on that email address again, but
Okay.
ask and ask and ask.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we basically need somebody who would be willing to, you know, kind of shepherd this through with the selected vendor and, you know,
Seems
make
like
it
a
as
match.
easy as possible on the clerk and assistant town clerk.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll ask again.
right, because that's, yeah, because you guys have to be all involved in that. Okay, any other questions for Lowry before he goes back to his mini golf?
No, thank you so much for all your hard work. Oh,
Thank you for your hard work.
You're very welcome.
I do have
Thank you.
one quick question. We talked about the heating system for town hall. I know we had a conversation about heat pump, or wasn't gonna be efficient. That decision, we haven't made that decision, have we?
no.
No.
So you're just getting,
No.
like, invoice, that's.
Weatherization would help with that, like,
Yeah.
and, you know, because right now, without it being weatherized, you can't, we don't want to put in a heat pump system in this
Sure.
case.
Okay, thank you.
No, but so we're trying to get vendors who will propose a couple of options for you to consider, including a heat pump. And they can do it based on the assumption that the building will be better insulated after we do that work. So we have a plan that includes, you know, X amount of insulation, and so then they can calculate what will the heat load of the building be, and then they can size the appropriate heating system and say, yeah, you can buy a heat pump for this much that'll heat the building on the coldest day.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
So we'll come back to you with those, hopefully in not too long.
Okay, great, just let me know when we can put you on the agenda.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Alrighty, so let's go back to, the double sided one.
Right in the middle so far.
And now, okay, yeah, all right, and,
Page 2?
page 2. Alrighty,
So when you guys are looking at general government and administrative, those are two things that are actually kind of combined, but they've been broken separately out, you know what I mean? So you see health insurance on both, just so you know, and then it comes back, so the total of them together is gonna, we're probably gonna end up exactly where we need to be. But you have to look at it, the health insurance line item on administrative and on general government to kind of figure out what that sense of that is. If you're on page 2, if you go down, the high one there is the dog pound issues.
Yeah.
And that's from those vicious dogs that we
Yeah.
had to deal with that. The ambulance is higher because of the contract. That was higher this year. It's higher next year than it is this year. The building maintenance for the fire department, that was putting in the new heat system. Eric is gonna have to talk to you about his highway department stuff. Everything there looks, total budget on each line item looks like it's ended out pretty fair.
So this is through what month?
Through this month, through
Through
May.
May?
Yep. So it doesn't include those bills that are in there, in that folder right now, because I can't bring those forward until I do my bank statement for May.
I gotcha. So we have do we have two more orders for this
We have-
fiscal year?
It'll be that one and then one more.
And one more?
And then, of course, there's always happens through July that we get June's
We
bills.
get June, right, yeah, okay, yeah.
On page 7, you're gonna see that there is, only 60,000 that's budgeted for the flood stuff, but then it's the actual is actually up higher, but I have to reallocate that and move that budget figure around once
What
that all
page?
lands. On page 7, on the very top, you'll see there's only there's the 60,000, but there has nothing there across from it.
Oh, yeah.
But that's because I have to put it in the other, when you guys set this budget up, you just said $60,000 needs to be set aside for the flood. And then you didn't realize that we were gonna have a 2024 flood
Right.
on top of that. So that 60,000 was set there for the 2023 flood to make payments and to deal with that.
Oh, on the interest.
Yep.
What does dent mean? Recovery dent principal.
I don't know, that's
Dent,
something that you guys, that was
Interest. A
pre-me.
dent in the principal and a dent in the interest. Okay,
So I mean, I think I've hit on all the like major things I see.
okay.
Wait, so is the VBB, maybe this was asked and answered, I'm still in the debt service,
Where we paid what?
page 7.
Mhm.
Is the VBB 23 flood loan interest different than the flood recovery dent interest?
No, I just
line
need to
item?
move that $60,000 up to that line, and then there's
Oh,
actual,
so those will be aligned,
yeah,
okay. Boop,
Gotcha.
got it. This is sort of like a redundant line thing.
right, because it's even like the fire department stipends. Originally, when this budget was done back in the day, we did stipends through accounts payable, and then they decided that we had to do it through payroll instead.
Okay.
So there wasn't a line item that was set up through that, but that had to be done because now the state decided that we had to carry workers' comp on our volunteer fire department. So then, of course, we had to pay FICA and the taxes on that. So then I had to make a new line for the FICA and the taxes, so now that 18,000, I have to shift some of that 18,000 down to those other line items to fill that void, but, also they brought on new people too for the fire department stipends, so that's gonna be more, so. And we'll have another one because he's only paid them through December, and then he'll pay them again from January to June in July.
How come the debt service for, the flood isn't out here? So-
capital purchases.
That's, I gotta do a journal entry to move that issue because it's sitting in below the line items.
What do you mean?
Because this right here is our
Oh,
the main stuff, you know what I mean, so.
I see, yeah, it's not in the budget,
Right,
okay.
but we.
So, like, that's why our expenditures are 5,518,000, but the rest of it is loans.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we
On page
have,
9.
in the special articles, we have paid all those except for the Kellogg Hubbard Library, which means that we gotta send out another 35,000 for that. Today I did all the capital improvement money all got transferred today into the money market account.
Where's the special articles? What page?
Special
Oh, I see it,
articles,
yeah.
yeah. So we've cleared up most of those except for the library.
Okay.
So is everything on page 9 under the capital improvement funds is being relocated to?
It's already done, yeah, it was done today.
Okay,
But you're not gonna see it, so it's not included in this number, you know what I mean?
So that's the 126,000 that you
I
just
gotcha,
mentioned.
gotcha.
Because I have to do it through the bank, and then I have to call them up and tell them, okay, I've transferred this money to each one of these funds, because it's only just one huge money market account, but they keep these little sub-account things. so I have to tell them where to shift that money around.
So I think like for the purposes of us to be looking at this, like we don't wanna look on page 9 of 12 and say, oh my God, we're 279% above budget, right? I mean, in that, you know, that we're over budget
No,
that
because
much.
it includes the flood stuff.
That
so
includes the
you're-
flood, right, so what is better for us to look at are the totals. So like for administration, we're at 76, like on page 2, right? For administration, we're at 76.5%, right? So we're fine with that, right?
Yeah, so if you take the 76 and you add it to the 117, or I mean, you do the average of those two, then we're still pretty good, in pretty good shape, you know what I mean?
Right, and then it's like, okay, public safety, we kind of spent all our money on that, so, you know, hopefully we don't have any more expenses for that. Fire department has spent most of their money, you see how on page 3 of 12, they're at 99% of their budget. They're pretty good about, you know, looking, you know, staying on budget, but I think that one of the things was those, they had to, I forget what it was, but.
They got the turnout gear and there's
The
part of
turnout
it
gear.
in there, which is $30,000.
Yeah.
So that's gonna put this over, but that money was supposed to be allocated from the ARPA money, which we've used for the flood.
Yeah.
So it's gonna have to be,
Yeah. So those are kind of the way to look at this and be like, okay, look at, we're over we're over on winter maintenance, but, you know, we
So
had.
maybe not cut $40,000 from the budget next time.
Right, so those are the kind of things that we think about when we're looking at this, and, but, you know, summer maintenance, we're at 43%, but, you know, there's still a lot that we haven't covered yet for the summer, right? Like, there's still some May and June that's not in here.
Plus,
right?
we couldn't mow last year because the flood came.
Right, so maybe we'll do some savings, right, there may be a little bit of savings there, so in the end, on a normal year, if there's no flooding, and there's no, like, anything out of the ordinary, often, there's money left over, and that's what goes into a reserve fund, okay? So, our reserve fund that we had going into the 2023 flood was like 400,000 or something, right? And, you know, a town auditor would say, or an auditor would say to a town, you know, a healthy reserve fund is X% of your budget, right? I can't remember what that is, but
also, the money that we have set aside for the
was
reappraisal.
it 4% of your budget or something like that, 2% of your budget?
The money here that we have on page 2, set up for the assessor contract, that 26.5, I really think I need to move that money into
Oh, move it into,
the
yeah,
reappraisal fund here.
okay,
It's got 62,000, and then that's gonna put that, you know, you move that 26,000 in there, and I just,
That makes sense.
so basically, we'll be covering the contract. Now it's just moving forward. If we just keep up with that, if they're gonna keep making us do these reappraisals every so often, we'll be okay with that, you know what I mean? We'll be budgeted and we'll be perfect.
Right.
Can I just ask, is the recreation, is that the tennis court?
Yes,
Okay, so just so you guys know, we have a recreation budget, right, and that's Mitch and the mowing and that kind of stuff that he does. But then we also have put money aside for the tennis court
resurfacing the tennis court.
resurfacing. I thought we had more than $5,000 in that account.
It says
No, it's good, you got
13,400.
13,000.
Looking at the wrong one.
Where's you seen that?
I'm seeing it on the
It's,
sheet that you gave me.
the
This here.
community banks
Up
number,
top.
it's got 17 next to it, resurfacing, it's right in the middle.
Underneath restoration fund.
Oh, so what's recreation with 5,114?
What are you looking at?
Is
Down
that
below.
the bandstand and,
But I didn't know they had a fund, that's what I'm asking. Down, fourth from the bottom, recreation,
this is what I need
5,114.
Mark next week or next time.
You know, I couldn't tell you why that money's been set there.
Mark will know.
What the recreation fund is, so it's not,
So it's money that's just sitting there, and it's not, we don't add to it. So there's, I don't think
maybe it's an old fund that we had, and maybe we could put it towards the resurfacing if we decide that this is,
because I thought his quote for resurfacing was right around 13,000, right? So if it was right around, and we add whatever to,
Yeah.
You know, like if he needs it.
Yeah, so
machinery or
far he
something.
hasn't asked to resurface the tennis courts, so on the budget, can you, well, like, he's been reminded.
The town garage, I mean, I bet you that heat system's gonna take most of that money out,
Yeah.
if that's what you guys plan on that.
Which one is that?
The, fund number 26, town garage, the 30,000, I can guarantee a heat system for that town garage up there is gonna be $30,000 to $40,000, at least.
What did we? Oh, go ahead.
What's the numbers, you just referenced 26, what was, what are
Down
those?
here, town garage.
what are those?
No, what are they,
Oh, those are, that ties to this, it ties
is
to.
that a
our-
line item, a line
Yeah.
number?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it tells me the money market, so like when I'm
Yeah.
reconciling the checking accounts, this is number 9 for me, this is number 10.
And isn't it,
So town hall building
recreation and
fund,
asset and equipment doesn't
we
have
put
a
in the
number?
budget. Why did we put $30,000 into the town hall?
It doesn't because that was set as, when you guys originally done the asset fund, that was set up to be, it was, the first time it happened, it was just a transfer over. It was a special article. It wasn't set aside where you guys went, oh, we gotta put this money in there. But every one of these has to be a reconciled checking account.
Yeah,
So we have to go in and.
a separate one,
Yeah,
a separate
separate
checking
one.
account.
Yep, so I go in and we add the interest to each one of these. We do journal entries for every single one, and then I have to go
Each
through.
one is a separate checking account?
Yeah, or separate savings account, I guess, a money market account. So I have to add the interest to each one of
I guess
these.
I
No, but
understand
that's-
that.
And then reconcile each one of these, as
Yeah.
well as in our operating account as well.
But can I ask you something?
Uh-huh.
I don't remember in 2020, I know you just said this, but I need you to say it again. I don't remember in last year's budget that we allocated 30,000 for the town hall building fund. But we did. So on page 9 of 12 on your budget, there's 30,000 that needs to go into building fund 10.
Which is almost 80,000?
Yeah, it's almost
Where are you
80,000.
seeing that?
On page 9 of your budget to
Mhm.
actual,
Yep.
at the top, town hall building fund budget is 30,000.
Right, but that hasn't, you guys, that was part of what was, it should have been, it's in the book, because it was part of what was done there, and this is part of, so it's not for rebuilding the town hall, I guess I should say. That money right there is for,
It's for the elevator.
right, it's
It's
for
the
the building
$30,000
fund, so
is
it's
for
like
the
for anything
elevator.
that happens to the building.
Yeah, that's fine, but from what I understand, that this 80,000 that's sitting there, 79,808 on this sheet,
Mhm.
we're gonna get an extra 30,000.
Yes.
That's good,
Mhm.
because, that's gonna help with paying for this and the heating system. So
Right,
we have
and
less
that's-
to worry about.
And that was actually one of the discussions that we had in one of these meetings, was that we
Yeah.
would be using that money to do
Okay,
some work here to fix some things, whether it was to fix, like that door down there is not gonna be okay.
yeah, okay,
We
so I
gotta do
feel
something
better,
for
that's
security.
that's a healthier.
Well, yes, and if we end up
amount.
needing a security system and things like that, then.
Right.
Well, cause
we
we're
have-
gonna have to do something about, that whole thing with having to get up and let people in every day,
Yeah,
25
no.
times a day is becoming
Right.
a lot.
I'm sure. We did not budget 30,000 this year, I don't think, though. Does anyone know what we budgeted this year?
Yeah, it would be in the book,
Yeah, I don't have the book. I might have taken it home by mistake.
because this would,
I've got like 4.
I have,
think you
like,
guys
the
did these in
newest book,
special
but we need the
orders.
one before then, don't we? We need.
No, I wanna know what we budgeted this year. That would be in this book.
because this here this would be special articles. It won't, I don't think it's gonna be in there, it's gonna be right in the one before that.
That's
No, I
what
think
I'm
it's gonna be
saying
this
as
one, 'cause
well.
the one before that is this one, 30,000. This is for fiscal year 26 budget.
Is it?
Yeah.
26 to 27?
But we only
so-
care about 25's budget.
Right, we're looking at 25 budget, so we need the book before.
Well, look, here we go. No, I'm seeing this.
Oh, because it's got both years,
It's
remember?
30,000 is what was for fiscal year, that ends July 30th, 2025 is fiscal year 25. Fiscal year 26, we only budgeted 10,000 because we were looking for things to cut.
Mhm.
So my point being that next year, at this time, when it's time to start transferring stuff over, only 10,000 is gonna be for building fund, which is fine, because we did do 30,000 last year, and that will help with the heating system and everything like that. Okay, I feel a little better about that. Okay, so, let's just actually look at, for the heck of it, we did 50 and 50, same, everything else looks like it's the same. So the only thing that changed,
It's the building fund.
was the building fund, yeah. Interestingly, it doesn't, looks like we had. Yeah. Okay. Those are, I don't think those are special funds. Fire department, there's a fire department building fund. Is that a special fund? I don't see one here. Paving fund. That's low because we probably used it all up.
We used it to do
Yeah.
either Center Road or Shady.
Shady Road.
The restoration fund, I'm sorry, what's that?
The restoration fund is our fund for, our recording. When we do our recording, we have to
Yeah.
have that money set aside for that.
Yeah, okay. To put it digitally or something, or?
Yeah, to keep our stuff, keep everything updated, the software and everything, that money has to stay. The state tells us that money has to stay there.
North Branch Cemetery only has, in the Edward Jones only has.
No.
4,500.
That right there is money. So Edward Jones is a separate thing. We have that
Yeah.
money. I have to take money out of that money and put it into this account
Okay.
here to pay for the expenses for North Branch from here. So there's like,
So there's always been a funny thing that this cemetery, and maybe we have no control over it, but that there's a couple $100,000 in this cemetery, Edward Jones, that they use, I think it's that much, is it? I don't know, maybe it's not that much.
I think it's about, it's like the low hundreds, cause I was trying to figure it out.
And it's not something.
it is in the low hundreds, but what happens is it goes up and down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, this month it will drop down like $1,200.
Because you're paying, but what do we
But
pay?
no, it's because as the stock market changes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, in mutual funds. So as
Yeah.
the stock, as things change that way, we get money, we may not get money, we may, so it goes back
Where
and
did the money
forth.
come from originally?
It was an endowment from someone, and it can only
And
be used
who's
for.
the
North
signer?
Branch.
Who's the
I
signer?
am,
You're the signer, so any treasurer is the signer?
So what
No one
happens
from
at
the
North?
commission is the signer?
no,
We've
No.
had this conversation years ago.
yes, and no.
What happens that you need money for North Branch Cemetery?
The mowing,
So
any
does the-
expenses, yeah. any
So does
expense-
like 4,000 of the mowing come out of the North Branch and then another 4,000 for the other two cemeteries?
'Cause we have a.
Come out of our budget then?
So we're only budgeting
Okay.
for those two other cemeteries.
Okay, all right.
And their income is coming from this endowment, but it also comes from people buying graves and paying for digging, but
Okay.
then we have to pay the digger.
But then that also means that there is some budget if in fact we find that we need to release some
Yes, if there was
headstones
some-
from the woods or something.
Yeah, but that's not for,
Yeah, but we
not
didn't
for
use
that
that North
cemetery.
Branch money for
It's
that.
only North Branch.
Right, but
Only
we're
North
under budget now for car and village, because if the mowing is split up,
Yes.
4,000 North Branch and 4,000 car in the village, and we're paying him 8,000.
Well, let's see what happened with
4,000 for car and village to do something else.
You gotta figure too, when you're thinking about mowing and thinking about that stuff, that this physical year started in July. So you got July, August, September, October, that's already hit this budget.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then it stopped, and then you gotta pick up again, so that's why,
Interesting, okay.
that's one of the things that's kinda hard to,
Can we spend half of it?
yeah.
And
So the
just put it in-
cemetery, we have spent, we had a budget of 7,500, we've spent 5,900, so we spent 78% of the cemetery, but we still are pulling from that budget for the mowing in June.
And there's a bill in there from Randy
2025.
Richardson.
And
Yeah.
May.
And May, right, so this 7,500 is kind of for the spring, right? Because there might be a September mow, there might be one or two September mows, but then they're done.
For this budget here, there's two more bills in there. One from Randy for May, because he got late started, so he got
Right.
caught up on that part of the contract. And then he turned around and gave us his June bill.
Right,
So there's $4,000 in there that's going to hit this.
okay.
And
Which
then-
is going to be over budget now,
Yeah,
will be over budget.
Until July, when things slide back in.
Except that he did North Branch too. And so
Right.
she'll have to transfer some money from there that's
From
not
North
in
Branch.
there
Right.
to help
Yeah.
pay for North. So his itemization says North Branch X number.
oh yeah, he broke it right down.
Okay, perfect.
So,
All right.
so like every single bill, there's a percentage that goes to car, one that
Yeah.
goes to village, and then it's $1,000 a month to do North Branch.
Okay, So it's possible that we might be over budget, or we might be right on budget for the cemetery, but at any rate, I hope that makes sense to people. Okay, so what we were planning to do next, meeting was to invite Mark, I'm looking at the agenda here, for June 17th, is that right?
Yep.
I would like to have the language too from the, warning, is that on the website? We have to have a meeting, we have to warn the meeting and, it's pursuant to blah, blah, blah.
What,
For the June 17th,
we already did a public notice.
yeah, but I have to put it
Oh, you
on
put
the
it-
agenda. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Is
would
it
have
on
to-
the website, the public notice? Maybe I can just, I don't even know that I need to.
Sandy did
put
it,
on
she
there.
typed it up and I sent it to the newspaper and it went out on time.
Okay.
And then Kevin sent a copy of that as well as, everything else to all the
Great,
abutters down there like you
perfect.
guys asked.
Okay, good, yeah. All right, so I'll look on the website to see if there's some language that I can just cut and paste as a part of the agenda. We were gonna do that at 6 o'clock.
Actually, the budget committee, we were gonna do as early as possible, because they've got a meeting at 4, and then.
And then they stay.
Yeah,
Okay, so why don't I put them, on at 5:05?
that'd be great.
Okay, so 5:05 will be the, budget committee stays and reviews, budget to actual. I guess through, what did you say this was, through these warnings? I mean,
Yeah,
through
well, it
these-
won't be, it probably won't be done by the, it depends on if I get the checking account reconciled. If I can
Gotcha.
get all that stuff, then I can go ahead and.
Well, and to be honest, so Mark and Sam have been putting together that, the wage thing, and then they also have a list of like wages that they've gotten from the state, so I
Oh, the
think they
pay
wanted to
packets.
actually present that to
So
us.
do you not want them to
Well,
talk
no,
to us
and then,
about this?
and then any questions that we have.
That we have, okay, so.
We can then answer because they're here.
Okay, so the budget committee to present, what are we calling it?
Wage range, something or other?
Range, evaluation or something?
Yeah, there we go.
Wage for municipal staff.
Right.
Okay, and then they'll stay, and answer questions about the budget to actual.
Yeah, and the CIP and
Yeah.
what things go to, because I hate that the asset and equipment fund is like so many different things. I feel like it could be broken up a little bit more,
But can you imagine, that would be more checking
I
account.
know.
I didn't do more checking.
reconcile.
That's true, that's true.
Okay,
But if he had a little something that said, okay, this
That what
money
it
was set aside
includes.
for this or this or
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, because I feel like we look at this even in the budget committee all the time and are like, paving, blah, 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 oh, resurfacing, no, that's this. So, yeah, maybe writing out a little bit clearer on the resurfacing,
Tennis
the
research.
tennis, yeah.
yeah. Alrighty, so, let's see, let's go back to the agenda.
If there's time to review the purchasing policy between
Oh.
5 and 6 at the next meeting on the 17th, like, that's fine, but if you end up having the very full docket, we can also, like, it's not necessarily supposed to.
Do you mean 5 and 7 or 5 and 6?
Oh, between like 5 p.m. and 6 p.m., like, so at the on June 17th, I think that's our next select board meeting, right?
Yep.
So,
Oh, because 6 is when we have the thing.
we had the
Yeah.
hearing, the hearing on the planning commission's proposal
Yeah,
technically starts at
okay,
6,
so I'll see.
if there's time, we
Put
Yeah,
that
there's
on
time.
at 5:30 or whatever?
Yeah, okay, so, and that would be what we didn't do today, which is, final review and possible approval. Okay. move to
Because really, we're there, we
17.
just need to kind of vote.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
then
wanna
eventually we
circulate
wanna
it
put the
to-
personnel policy.
Yeah,
Yeah, but when we're done with that, I
Yeah.
think it'd be best.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
wait to do that, we don't
I
want.
think it worked out well the way Stacy presented it a little bit at a time.
Yeah, yeah,
So, one of the things that happened with this security issue that we just had
yeah,
is the state police wanted us to call Washington County Sheriff's Department, who were jerks. Because we don't have a signed contract with them, when I told them that it was irrelevant to have an assigned contract with them, because the only thing our contract addressed was
For
our
speeding.
speeding ordinances.
Right.
And that we didn't feel like it was a good thing to to sign a contract with them when we were tying their hands behind their back. And he said, well, you know, it was extremely true. He totally believed in what I was saying. And he said that, you know, it's really complicated to do a speeding ordinance because the signs have to be placed so many places. They have to be a certain size. The lettering has to be a certain thing. They have to follow, you know, if they're this kind of road, they have to follow this kind of speed. And he said, you know, and you really need to get that addressed. So they wouldn't come here and they wouldn't deal with us at all. Because apparently the way the sheriff's departments work in this state is they're considered a small business. So the only way they thrive is through contracts with like
Oh
us,
my
with our
God.
speeding ordinances. Yep.
Are you kidding me?
Yep, with our speeding ordinances.
Let's
And
talk to a
remember-
lawyer about that too, add that.
Right, so in other words, we'd have to have a contract to be able to call them for help.
Before anything. So he agreed, because I got really aggravated with the situation, and I did tell him that.
No one's ever told us this.
So what he decided was he was gonna let me email him the no trespass order for both here and the town garage, and he was gonna keep it on file there. But they wouldn't necessarily come here if the guy comes here to trespass.
Can I back you up? And why did the state police refer them to? Don't the state police cover this town?
Yeah, they do. I mean, they do as far as that kind of stuff do, but they didn't really want to come out either. They actually, until they heard the name of the person, and when they heard the name of the person, they were actually, didn't want, because there has been so much escalation in that person's past, that was the reason why they said, okay, we're gonna nip this in the bud, and we're gonna issue a disorderly conduct to him right now. So they did do that, but they were really concerned that he make a reappearance here at some point, and that's why they've advised us to keep the door locked.
But that they couldn't, but they wouldn't be able to process a no trespassing?
No, I had to send that to him certified, for here, and we did one for the town garage, because he's already been there too before this whole incident happened. He has been up there because he was angry because his son hit the potholes on Shady Reel, and our insurance company said they're not gonna cover that because of the rate of speed that the son was going.
Okay, so I guess my question about the sheriff's department is the sheriff's department the only place that can issue a no trespassing?
That's where it has to be filed, it has to be in the county, so I had to,
I see.
so they know.
And they wouldn't do that, or they would?
They have a
because
copy of it, the
to.
Vermont State Police have a copy of it, and so does the Washington County Sheriff's Department. I don't know why the difference was, but they just were like,
But
I
who
need to
issued the no trespassing order?
I did.
I know, but like this piece of paper, like who processed
It's an official
it?
piece of
Well,
paper.
so it's different though from like a protective order, right? Like
Right.
this is like,
Just telling him he can't come here on this piece of
I
property.
used to do them at Norwich. We
Who does it?
people, Norwich University did it. So I would issue it as the chief of public safety I represented the college. So I would set that up from me, from the chief of public safety, the person responsible. In this case, I can see it coming from Cheryl, she's responsible.
Yeah.
And it's sent out to them. They have to put the notice on, then you have to give a copy to the.
I'm
the
guessing,
client.
I'm asking, where is this piece of
You
paper?
make
Is it
it-
online?
No, you type it up.
I typed it up.
Oh, you just type it up and say, this is a no trespass order from Cheryl at the Middlesex Town Hall for Mr. XYZ, saying you have no, are there words
You
that
have the
someone
language.
gives
You
you?
have to put the language
Yeah,
from the law.
I had the language and everything. there,
Okay,
and
so
then
that's my
just-
question,
Okay.
how is that
So
done?
I had to sign mine and Eric had to sign his. So you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Eric had to because he was responsible for the town garage.
Okay,
And I had to do mine because it was the town clerk's.
and then do you hang something up on the window?
We had to put a note just saying for people to call to be let in the building.
Okay, but otherwise the person just receives it in the mail?
Yeah, and he hasn't signed for it or picked it up yet, so, but I know it went to a post office box in Montpelier, so I was thinking that, you know, most people that work probably can't make it to their post office box during the week, and probably made it on Saturday. And the way our mail's running, it's like 5 to 6 days behind.
Yeah, so
So
let's.
I think
yeah.
we're gonna get it probably this week, where I had to send it to him certified and registered to him only, and return
Okay.
receipt.
But the police
Yes,
told
sir.
you that it's his MO that he might come back here.
Okay, so, and yeah, so in light of just in general, the fact that we can't see people coming in, we don't know who's there, one potentially easier solution might be, a camera, you know, a simple camera thing that.
Ring camera that you
Well, I
can
found
talk to.
out that
Yeah,
BLCT, their insurance has a grant. And actually, because the guy was here that came and looked at the building anyway, and he said he didn't like the fact that we were in the basement. He said, you know, that he was very concerned about that. He said that's a safety issue, and he felt like we needed both a camera and a buzzer to let people in the door that would open. But I
And
really
either-
tell you that I'm always having to go out there and screw that door back together,
yeah.
the handle and stuff.
Well,
because
maybe we
it
need a
falls
new
off.
door that has a buzzer and we use it from our $100,000 building fund. You know, that you just buzz in the person, you have a little camera, you see.
But I
who it
can
is,
also
you buzz
apply
in.
for that grant, so if I can apply for
Okay, yeah,
that
that'd be
grant, I
perfect.
can get 50%. But he told me if I do it to do for the building, the door, the camera, and for some surge suppressors and our desk.
Yeah, okay, so, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, one of those doors like, you know, in a building, right, that goes, that just you buzz in and it opens, so it's not that kind of door that we have down there now.
Right,
Right, and so, yeah, so I think that if you can pursue that grant,
Mhm.
you probably would need quotes from someone to come in. Do you have the capacity to do that?
I
or
don't
Brenda to like,
Maybe
I'll
Brenda
have
has.
Brenda, I'll have Brenda do it.
Yeah, so basically looking at what it would cost, I mean, I'm guessing it would cost under 10,000. Under 5,000, I would hope, but I don't
And you know,
know.
we might be able to get somebody to come in and say, we might be able to find the door, find something, and then maybe get somebody to come in and do it for us. You know, it's
Yeah,
Kevin Thompson.
yeah. Well, I mean, I know that is something that, if we can get a quote of how much it's gonna cost, we could say, is there someone out there that's a retired builder that wants to help us do this?
Mhm.
Because, you know what, folks? It takes a community,
Yeah.
all right?
you can either
pay for
volunteer.
taxes.
We can pay for taxes. or
Volunteer
you
your
can do it for
skills
free.
or pay
Right,
your
exactly.
taxes
We're not
later.
asking you to come to the meetings, we're not asking you to go on committees every week, but if you have a skill, we could use it.
Step up.
I mean, we could have people coming and painting our walls nicely and refinishing our floors so that it's a little nicer in here.
What I think this looks amazing. They're talking about like.
Yeah, I mean, we could just do those things. We could give each one of the kids a panel, that's in my orthodontist office.
Oh.
They painted them,
Yeah, but I wouldn't hear anything at select board meetings.
we'd all be looking at the panels from the children. Okay, so,
I have a question before you move on.
yeah.
Like, can I just, I wanna, like, my brain is struggling because this has jumped around so much in the last 10 minutes, and I would like to put this in like a linear fashion. So it sounds like a Middlesex, resident came in and like,
Flipped out.
flipped his lid,
Yeah.
were there any like weapons involved?
There
or-
were no weapons. He just got very intimidating, you know, banging his fist on the desk, and he called Brenda a few select words, let's
And
just say.
This is because of the sun hitting potholes?
No, this is a
No, this is
$75
because-
late fee for taxes. He was. a
Because he came in like 2 or 3 days late,
Yeah.
you know, because you have to pay your taxes on time, and if you don't
We
pay them.
discussed this, because at 5 PM.
Yeah, the
The
tape
door's
went on the door.
closed.
The tape went on the door
So
at
this is a
5:15.
late fee grievance
Yeah.
that went way too far.
Yeah, so got aggravated. He was slamming doors. He was cussing. He went
Honking
outside.
outside.
He was like screaming outside and kicking his truck, kicking all this stuff outside, and then laid on his horn and held onto his horn, backing out, going down the road, holding onto the horn. But he was screaming. Use my effing money to fix the potholes down on Shady Rail Road, just ranting and raving. Brenda was shaking all over.
Okay, so we have like major security incident with said resident. Is there a reason, like, I don't know who this person is, I'm deeply, like,
Yeah, let's not
morbidly
use the
curious.
name, I would rather we didn't do the name.
Okay, that's, I wasn't sure if there's like a reason.
I just think it's not necessary to publicize it, but we could tell you, I could tell you.
We'll
after.
text you later.
I can tell you who it was later.
Yeah, I mean, I do think like on some level, like the warning on like kind of this very sudden, like there was a security incident and now our municipal, like our town hall is locked, was like received very like, oh my goodness, like what happened, so that's
Yeah, because
why.
I couldn't really I didn't want to put nobody's name. I didn't want to tell the specifics on it. It's just that there was an incident.
It's limited
Sorry, but you're
to-
gonna have to either call or make an appointment. And it's actually worked out okay because people have been calling and making appointments, but you do have the people that are like, apparently don't see the sign on the door and snatching and calling and all upset about it. I mean, we've had other people come and be upset about the 8% penalty. There was a woman that came in, 2 days after that, and she was like, you cost me 2 trips down here, I couldn't fit it through the door because there was tape on the door. Well, the tape didn't go on the door till after the taxes were due.
Right.
Because people do try, I'm telling you, people try all kinds of stuff. They try to cram it through the cracks, and they try to slip it under the door, and they try to push it through with the tape on the door. And they really, people don't wanna have to pay that 8% penalty, and it's a law, they have to. And then we put a nice little sign on the door saying, this is what the law says, and it's due by 5 p.m. on the 20th. At 5:01, you're getting hit with an 8% penalty. And there's.
Wait, hold on, before you go, I'm gonna keep you back on track so I can finish this in my brain. So the angry 8%er, you call the state police first.
Mhm.
They're like, we don't wanna come help you. Is that
Well,
about right?
no, they didn't never come here. They actually took all the information over the phone.
Wow.
Right, and dealt with
So
it over
no
the
law
phone.
enforcement from either the state police or the Washington, like, nobody responded
Right.
when you were Brenda, like, when the call came out from the town hall, like, there's an irate person here, we need assistance to deal with this individual.
Yep.
And the reason stated was because the state police, the state police would not come because they said this is a Washington County Sheriff's issue?
No, they never said that, but what was going
Okay.
on is she had them on the phone, and that's what they told us that we had to do. We had to file the no trespass with the county.
So unless this fellow, I assume it's, unless the angry 8%er was like damaging person or property, they were not going to respond?
Well, I can tell you that they kept Brenda on the phone a very, very long time, transferring her to different people
Wow.
to figure it out, until finally the one officer was like, I need to nip this in the bud with this person because he's known to escalate and there'd be further issues. So this is what I need for you to do. I need for you to file the no trespass with them, and then send it to him as well, and I'm charging him with disorderly conduct.
Okay.
So they
That was
charged him
the
with,
state police charged this
They did charge him.
individual with this disorderly conduct, but not on site, it sounds like, 'cause they
Yeah.
never came.
no, we gave him the phone number,
Okay, gotcha. So
right?
they are pursuing that,
Mm-hmm.
presumably, and now you and Eric both executed no trespass orders for the garage, the town hall. Those no trespass orders are now on file with the Washington County Sheriff's Department,
Yep.
who has told us though that they're actually won't do diddly squat because we don't have a contract with them.
And can I add to that, that the contract was for $500 that we pulled out of the budget because it's for traffic control, but they're only available to us in the winter time.
Oh,
It wasn't 500, it
No,
was
it-
5,000.
Was it
Yeah,
5,000? I thought it was
this-
500.
this is the Sheriff's Department or
Yeah,
the state?
it's for they come and patrol the area for
Good.
speeding, the Washington County Sheriff's Department, but
Okay.
here's
We
the deal.
paid them to come patrol
Yeah,
the
but they can't, but they can't do anything because our ordinances are off. So our
Okay,
speeding
yeah.
ordinance is
You
really
won't
bad and it
fix
needs
it.
to be updated. So we can't do the contract with them unless we update our speeding ordinance.
So that needs to go on our list of things to do.
But I will also say, I just wanna say that I think there's more to it than that, and that is that they have a severe staffing shortage, and they just,
And they're also being told to pick up
yeah.
brown people that are milking cows and picking apples right now, so.
Yeah, so like, I just think that the reason was that they also didn't come because they just didn't have the people to do it, and so.
No, he
but
came right
you know-
out and said that, right out and said, because that's why I needed the
Yeah, but he's
explanation.
blaming us, he's finding a way to say it's
Well,
our
because
problem.
my comment was like, hey, wait a minute, aren't you a sheriff department? Can you please tell me why you're not coming out, well, you didn't sign a contract? Well, do you have a contract with everybody that you go to?
2,500.
And I thought
Was
the
the speed limit.
$2,500, and the contract was to patrol, not to.
That's just the contract, but-
Not be ignored when we're in danger.
But then they turn around and bill us. We were getting bills for them. So I got speed enforcement bills with them that I had to pay every single month that they would send. That would be for their hourly rate as well as their mileage. for
And they
that.
weren't doing any enforcement.
No, they couldn't, they can't.
Well, then why, you should have
Because
told them
it-
to stay
it-
home.
Well, why were they billing us?
That was when they were doing the contract, but they don't bill us now.
No, I know, but were they coming out? They just weren't able to actually like pulling one over?
Right.
So they were like scaring.
They were-
people.
Which was the
There-
point of why we didn't.
That was
Well, they were
exactly what it
scaring
was.
people. They would just
Remember
sit
that was
there.
part of the budgeting
Yeah.
thing where they
Yeah.
said, we'll just put a cop, we'll put a cop
Right,
car out there with
fake cop car,
a,
yeah.
with a body in it.
Yeah.
So my further question is, what happens, when this guy shows up again? What's the
I'm
plan?
gonna shoot. No, I'm just
Gonna say
kidding.
that, yeah.
I'm
We're being
just kidding.
recorded. But what's the plan? Is the state police gonna come out then if he comes in and
They'll
the
have
door's
to.
locked and he busts through the door, are they gonna come out?
Yeah,
They're
because there's a
gonna have
crime,
to.
man.
Yeah.
There's a commission of a crime.
Well, it was a crime earlier. Disorderly conduct is a crime.
I mean, I have to say, just,
I'm a retired cop.
well, and Larry, I don't think you were here with our dog thing, but last summer when we
No.
had that dog issue, you know, I was on the phone with the state police and it's not that they weren't, like, I'm not dissing the state police, but it was like, there was very, like, sort of little, they weren't able to really help us. Like, they didn't want to get involved in this, like, the fact that there was someone that almost died who was in the hospital, they just were like, they couldn't figure out who had to deal with this. I think they were sort of putting it on like a, you know, to someone, like some state animal control thing or something. Like, they were like, they didn't want to have anything to do with it. When we were worried about going to the person's house and that they might have guns and, you know, we didn't want to, we didn't feel safe going there by ourselves to just go to this person's house, who had 3 dogs that almost killed someone, right? So it's,
Well, I'll tell you that somebody came in this office that has a house here in Middlesex. He had squatters that were in his house, and there was a woman and 2 men. And when he went into the house, there were drugs all over the table. And he wanted them removed. The cop didn't want to remove them because they said they had the right to be there. And he argued, and it wasn't until he told one of the guys he was gonna hurt him, that they decided to take everybody outside. They ended up taking them, but they left the drugs on the table. And he asked them to take the drugs, and they refused to do it. Well, that was that officer, but he called the main one to talk to somebody else, and they were like, no, we need, the other cop said, I don't want the drugs, just throw them away.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and so this other guy come in, and so he called the barracks back, and they said no. So they sent somebody to pick up the drugs. So it was that one cop that didn't take the initiative or wanted to remove the drug. I mean, it was fentanyl and meth.
And they're also very short-staffed, the
What
state
about
Yeah,
our
they are.
neighbors here? What if they call the, you know, if we end up having somebody outside who's dangerous ranting and stuff on this
Yeah,
street?
people would call, like, I'm guessing that she did not call 911.
Yeah, she did.
Oh, she called 911. Interesting. I was thinking she just called the police.
Oh, no,
instead.
she was freaked out.
She actually dialed
Oh,
911.
yeah, she was shaking.
There's no town constable?
No.
No.
But would you like to be one,
Oh,
Carol?
I think Larry's volunteered.
Well, I think, we actually voted it out. We removed it, I think.
Good. I don't,
think.
Sarah chased me for years to be the constable.
Yeah.
But you have to be certified, and my certification is run out.
Oh, dang. Darn it all. Okay, so, is there any other, so I just reviewed the orders. I'm just almost finishing them, but they look okay. So we want to make sure that we sign the orders, that we sign these things. Is there any other matter that, comes before, the board? So that we can adjourn exactly at 7?
I got nothing.
Nope. Okay.
I just need for you, I want you to sign that legal bill in there, and you to sign the one that's for Randy in there, because you're the one who's
Okay, so, all right, so if there's no other matters that come before the board, this meeting is adjourned at 7 PM, and thank you.